Oh, baby. We got the newest Stagg Jr. release here, 130.9 proof. Huge thanks to viewer Young Pei Chang for letting me borrow this bottle for a full review. Even better, it's about halfway down the bottle, as you see. So, should be able to, taste this at a point where it's gotten some airtime in it. I will also compare this to batch 15 and my personal favorite batch 12. Let's have some Stagg Jr. on the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C. from the Mash and Drum, and today we're reviewing the summer 2021 release of Stagg Jr. As you may or may not know, Buffalo Trace decided not to release George T. Stagg as part of the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. Well, since we aren't getting it, Stagg Jr. is probably the next best thing. Although Stagg Jr. is a lot younger than Daddy Stagg, can Stagg Jr. Batch 16 help fill that void this year? So Buffalo Trace released the first Stagg Jr. in August 2013 and has released around 2 batches every year since. Each batch is blended from bourbons that are roughly 7 to 9 years old and released at barrel proof. The proof number helps to identify specific batches. So batch 16 is 130.9, batch 15 was 131.1 proof, and so forth. I'm gonna pour this real quick. What's funny is when you look back on Stagg Jr. when it was first released, the reviews were pretty bad. Reviewers thought it was too alcohol forward. Alcohol forward. In other words, it drank like, the devil's armpits. It was a little bit hot. But as the batches kept rolling out, they got better, more refined, sweeter, and now has become highly sought after, allocated, priced above MSRP in many places, and with that big Stagg logo on the front, it sells out super fast regardless of what the hell's in the bottle. So as I mentioned, the latest batch 16 comes in at 130.9 proof. It's non-chill filtered, non-age stated, but said to be a blend of 7 to 9 year old bourbons. It's highly allocated, carries an MSRP of about 65, 70 bucks, but can be seen as high as 150 to 250 in some places. This is the summer release, but has released a bit late in some areas. So let's give it a go. Really classic cherry notes come through first. A lot of brown sugar. But the one note I'm picking up that I love to find in Stagg Jr. batches is chocolate. Definitely some chocolate going on here. Just rich vanilla, spice. This is not too alcohol forward. Even for 130.9, it's actually coming off the nose a little bit nicely. Well, again, you see it's got a good amount of, time and air in the bottle. So that's actually a good thing. I feel like can give it a little bit more of a fair review than a fresh pour. Nice oak presence in this. I really feel like, so if I go back, well, we're gonna compare it to batch 15 from the last release, and that one came off like just super candy. This I think you're getting some darker notes here and a little bit more oak presence as well. Yeah, classic cherry cola. It's not as refined as, George T. Stagg. Again, you got some younger whiskey in here, but for the most part, this is giving you all those classic notes here. The thing that I like that's a little bit different here, you're getting darker notes, you're getting cherry, you're getting chocolate, along with the brown sugar and the cinnamon and the really rich vanilla flavors you get in a good Stagg Jr. All right, let's see if the palate lives up to the nose here. Cheers, guys. First pour of the day, so that one hit me. That one hit me. Man, God, there's so much vanilla and brown sugar sweetness going on in this one. Even halfway down the bottle, it's pretty rich. It actually drinks kind of nice for 130.9 proof. I would think this is in the low 120 to maybe 125 range. Man, the more sips you take of this, it gets really nice. I love the sweetness. I think the big difference here is a little bit of chocolate and oak that I'm getting on the palate. It's not coming off as cloyingly sweet as the last batch, if I remember correctly. Now, it really depends on what you like in a bourbon. You know, my taste is, while I love sweet, I love oak and I love, you know, some richer flavors to balance out the sweetness. A little bit of the tobacco leather notes. You don't get that as much here because it is a younger bourbon, but I think the oak presence here balances out the sweetness. It's got a lot of spice. It's not coming through as proof. It's coming through as more as like black pepper, cinnamon. Yeah, the more sips you take of this, and again, this could be because there's a lot of air in the bottle, but the more sips you take, the front of the palate's actually becoming a little less interesting for me. All the flavor and that punch that I was getting on the first couple sips, the sweetness, the chocolate, it's getting real tame. But the I think the standout feature of this one is the oak, the chocolate, the cherry, and the long finish. This has a ridiculously long finish going on. It just goes on for days. I just wish the palate up front had a little bit more. Okay, let's compare it to batch 15 and my favorite, still my favorite batch of all time, batch 12. All right, so let's compare it to batch 15 at 131.1 proof, and then my favorite batch 12 at 132.2 proof. Why am I skipping 13 and 14? 14 I don't really think was that great. I know a lot of people liked it, but compared to other batches, 14 didn't do it for me. 13 I think was not as good as 12, but I do think it was better than 14 in my opinion. So I'm gonna stick with 15, which is the latest batch, and I'm still gonna judge it off my favorite, which is batch 12. So let's go to batch 12 first and see what we think here. All right, let's compare it to the newest one, 16. See, 12 for me still has some even darker flavors than the 16. I feel like 12, for whatever reason, just came off a little bit older. Maybe that's why I like it so much. Maybe it reminds me a little bit more of a George T. Stagg profile, where it's got a little bit more oak, a little bit more roundness to it. But I think the nose on 16 actually goes pretty close to 12. Maybe not as rich and dark, but the cherry and the chocolate and some of those little bit of oakier flavor do come into play here. Now 15, oh yeah, 15 is an absolute candy monster. Yeah, 15 is more of like a cherry strawberry candy type thing going on to me. I could see why this was a lot of people's favorites, including mine. It was very unique for a Stagg to come off like that sweet. Yeah, 12 is just giving me like a little bit of kick of maple syrup. I don't know, 12 just has so much stuff going on in it. I think that's why it's my favorite. All right, let's try 15. Oh my God. You come off 16 to 15. 15 is like, it's like eating the best like cereal ever, like the Lucky Charms, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Frankenberry, wrap 'em all in that bottle. It is so sweet coming off that one. And it may not be that sweet to you, especially if you're drinking it. If that's the only thing you're drinking, but man, you come off some other oakier things or Stagg Juniors, the friggin' sweetness just bursts out. It's crazy. All right, let's try 16 now. All right, so 16 compared to 15. Big difference here. 15, sip to sip, just a powerful, powerful burst of sweetness and flavor. The finish is there, but it doesn't linger like 16 does. It's kind of the reverse. 16, I think the more you sip, the palate tends to kind of die off a little bit, but you get this lingering, long finish that just, I think, kind of makes 16 really, really good. Also, the flavors are a little bit darker in 16. They're not as cloyingly sweet as 15, as I mentioned. Now let's go to 12. I think to me, 12 still has it all, man. 12 has it all to me. It's just, 12 has the oak, the sweet, the cherry, the cola, a little bit of like that sweet tobacco, the roundness of it, long finish. Whereas as good as 15 is and as good as 16 is, they're kind of missing the complete package that is the 12. So for 15, again, last sip here. 15 is just super sweet, super punchy, a lot of flavor. Not as developed on the finish, but just a lot of sweet flavors, and I think that's why a lot of people love 15, including me. Just I have to be in the mood for it because it's just so, you know, sweet. 16. 16, I do think is darker than 15. Get a little bit more oak, more chocolate, a little bit of like that cherry cola flavors back, and a long finish. But I think it lacks a little bit on the palate, even compared to these two. Maybe the first couple sips, you're gonna feel it, but man, the more you sip this, the palate actually gets a little flat for a Stagg Jr., which I'm not that crazy about. It's a good batch. I still don't think it stands up to the 12. I think if a 12, Stagg Jr. 12 is probably the closest thing that I've had to a George T. Stagg, you know, as far as a Stagg Jr. goes, at least me personally. But if you feel like you've had a Stagg Jr. that could actually go head to head with a Stagg, George T. Stagg, leave it down in the comments. Let me know what batch it is. All right, guys, I'm not going to really do a final breakdown on this because anything Buffalo Trace, I feel like you have to separate in another category. Because even if I tell you right now it's not worth, you know, the money, 99.9% of you out there will probably buy this regardless of what I say because it's Stagg Jr. Plus, they're really, really hard to find. And I feel like since we aren't getting a George T. Stagg this year, these might even be more difficult to get. But I will say this. I think the finish is the shining star. The finish goes on for days on this particular batch. I love the first couple sips. You get the cherry, you get the cola, a lot of rich brown sugars, vanilla, a little bit more oak to round it out, which I do like. But I feel like the more you sip it, the palate starts to get a little bit flat. You're kind of missing that punch of what Stagg Jr. is. But that finish, every single sip just goes on and on and on. Not as sweet as 15, and I don't think it's as balanced as 12. So if that sounds good to you, you want to kind of spend the money on this Stagg Jr. if you see it, go for it. I think either way, you won't be disappointed. All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this review for the brand new Stagg Jr. Batch 16, 130.9 proof. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. If you haven't yet, find me on Instagram, find me on Twitter. Let me know if you've had this, what you think of it, if you agree with my assessment. And as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. Speaking of sharing, again, thanks to Young Pei Chang for sending me this bottle to do a review for you guys. Cheers. I'll see you next time on The Mash and Drum. Take care, everybody.